to Phoenix though.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kristan, for joining us. How's everybody? How's your team doing? How's your family? Everybody's safe,
Yeah,
healthy, hopefully.
yeah, everyone's good. The team is, they're still selling real estate, and so that's good. We really haven't had any troubles except a little bit in California, when the governor issued their order that they've backed off from a little bit now, but it was difficult at first.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all good.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I wanted to, I saw you speak at Family Reunion, and I've been doing these calls for about a year now, I would say, getting amazing people like you to give us their time shortly. And but one of the, there was just so many snippets from your Family Reunion session, which was, I think it was the six rules for growth, or the six principles for mega growth, or something along those lines. And there were a couple things that really stuck out at me that I'd love to kind of start with. But
Okay.
why don't we start with kind of just your story? So I know, tell us a little bit about where you're at right now, where you came from, what growth has looked like, because I know growth is a big word in your world.
Yeah.
What that kind of
Yeah.
looks like, just so everybody has a little bit of perspective.
So I started right here where I am today in Wasilla, Alaska, which is a very, very small town. And I started 36 years ago, 1984, in May of 84. And, was a single agent for, 15 years, and then started building a team in 1999. And by 2005, we had a small, tight-knit team. I had one buyer agent and 3 admin. We closed 365 transactions that year at about 56 million volume, which today it's kind of like, oh, today people, would think, oh, gee, that's kind of like every day. But back then it was kind of a big deal.
I will tell you, it's still a big deal. I mean, we have very few teams and very few agents that are closing, 56 million in volume and hundreds of transactions in our area. So,
So
but to have that perspective, obviously, like there weren't many people doing that when you were doing that either.
no,
So,
not at all. Not at all. And today, now, I own a couple of market centers. I'm the OP of a couple of them in Scottsdale. I also am an investor in a couple of them in Tucson. We have 6 business centers, and then we have expansion across the country. So I think last year we closed about 1,400 transactions and about 350 million in volume.
that's incredible. That's incredible. So let's talk a little bit about how you run a big team like that, and what's in some of your founding principles. Because I loved, your focus on culture,
Big time.
your focus on accountability, and your focus on systems. I heard you talk a lot about building out your systems, testing your systems, rebuilding your systems.
Right.
But one of the things that I love the most is that all of those things start with who.
Yeah.
And how you have to kind of start with who. Can you talk a little bit about kind of starting with who? Because I think right now in the situation and the times that we're in, that's where everything falls back into, okay, who are you and who do you want to be right now in this moment, right?
And I think, for some people, if you watch Simon Sinek and you look at, it starts with why. I just found that a lot of people struggle with figuring out their why. And sometimes they spend a lot of time actually, it might take a decade for them to do that. And one day it finally gels from them. But when you start with who do you want to become? Who do you want to become in terms of personally? And then who do you want to become as a business person? And you can start your annual goals and your thinking around who you want to become. Most people can articulate that. They know what kind of a mother they want to be. They know what kind of a spouse they want to be, what kind of a friend they want to be, what kind of a business person. And so they can articulate the goals that they have in order for them to achieve that. And then the how and the doing naturally come from that. But you have to start with who. Who do you want to become? That's the most important thing first. And then the how, that's really the systems and the models of actually executing it, and then the doing is actually the action items. But most of the time when we start with our goals, we actually start with do, and that's why it doesn't work, because setting a goal that isn't tied to something that intrinsically, of who you want to become, it's a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
You start with who you want to become, and then you go to the systems of models on how you're going to do that, and then you actually have the action steps, the results. But if you just start with results before you figure out who you want to become, that's where the disconnect is, and that's why so many people don't hit their goals.
I love that. I love that. And I love what you were saying as well, because who is also like who in various aspects of your life. And I think I would completely agree that it's a lot easier for people to figure that out than necessarily the what or the why or the how.
And I think, a lot of people have just said that has helped them so much, because the why part of it, they're still struggling with, but they do know who they want to become.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So kind of like the next step from there is like who, the other thing I really loved was your, because we talk about this a lot in QL, right? Is the habits, right? And your Keystone habits,
Right.
figure out who you want to be. And then what does that person look like, right? What does that person do on a regular basis? What are their habits, and how can I focus on that?
Yeah. So think about, and I didn't say this at family reunion, but think about it. When you think about a Keystone habit, with McDonald's, for instance, if you think about what is really their secret sauce, and what it was, people think it's the French fry. Like, tell me somebody on the planet that does not like McDonald's super hot with lots of salt comes, French fries. They're awesome, right? And so the Keystone habit that McDonald's finally figured out that was important to them is it wasn't the French fries, it was the curing of the potato that was the Keystone habit that made the French fries so awesome. It wasn't where the potatoes were grown, it was the curing of the potatoes. So we have to figure out what is our secret sauce. And even today in the market that we have right now with the pandemic, it really is. Everybody does have a secret sauce to them. They have something that they are really good at. And the more you can help people stay in their lane and really execute on their Keystone habit, on something that they're super good at, they're gonna have exponential results.
Mm.
And I'll give you an example. And I gave this example at family reunion. If you go back several decades, they wanted to figure out what would be a Keystone habit that's small. It's like not a big deal. It's a small habit that we could consistently do that would have the greatest impact on our families. And so what they found was the small habit of having dinner with their families once a week together actually had a major impact on those children growing up and being adults that made more money. More of them were college educated. Fewer of them were ever incarcerated. I mean, and they directly, now they did this survey or this test over several decades to actually figure this out. And so when you back it up and say the Keystone habit that was so small, that had such a huge impact, was having dinner together once a week. Mm-hmm. So what is your Keystone habit? And we dismiss some small Keystone habits that really can have a major impact in your business. And it's basically, are you willing to get up and do and be prepared to do? Are you willing to get up and do what nobody else wants to do and do it daily and prepare for that the night before? When you look at Fortune 500 companies and the CEOs across the country, and you look at what are their Keystone habits that they do that most of us don't do consistently, they're super, super small, but they have a major impact. And so when you look at those, if first you start with who you want to become, then what's the Keystone habit that is going to help you get there? And when you look at it, if I said to everybody on the call today, you can put it in the chat box if you want, what would you want to, what is one thing that you could change, small, that if you did it would change your results on a multiplicative level? What would be one thing? Anybody?
Come on, people. Do I have the chat on? Yeah. Okay. Chat is on. What is one thing that we can do that you could do every day that would have a consistent lead generation?
Your calls.
Okay.
Yeah, but even back it up from there.
A powerful morning.
Be consistent about making those calls.
A powerful morning.
A what?
A powerful morning. The habits.
Powerful morning. What's going to give you a powerful morning?
Oh.
Planning your day.
Yeah, well, planning. Yeah. Your
Yeah.
schedule. Your schedule.
Exercise.
So just think about it. If you, we will all we'll all have better results if we are more prepared. And so it gets back to the little tiny things. Are you preparing for tomorrow, tonight? Are you getting up early? The top people in the country, you know, if you look across the gambit and you look at the top CEOs and the most successful people, it has nothing to do with how tall, how short, how skinny, how chubby, how old, how young. It has nothing to do with that. The number one thing that will determine your success is preparation the night before, meaning, do you have your 3 big rocks that you need to accomplish tomorrow that such by doing them, it will change everything. Number 2, are you getting up and actually doing your powerful morning and starting? Most CEOs are up by 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, it doesn't matter whether we're a morning person or not, it's a choice. And if you want to be successful, then somebody asked me on a call earlier this morning, they said, you know, what's the number one thing that we can do during this market to be successful? I said, well, you've got to show up. You've got to show up and you've got to engage, and you have to do it consistently. And what I can tell you is that most people are not consistent about what time they get up. They're not consistent about having a powerful morning. They're not consistent about preparing the night before. Like, how likely is it that you're going to get up early if you stayed up too late, drank too much, and ate too much? I'm just saying, guys, it's just, it is what it is. So we have control over that. We have control over the small keystone habits that if we were to execute them on a consistent basis would massively change our businesses and our results, and, you know, probably some things in our personal life as well. And so and doing them consistently, I can guarantee you this, most of you, if not all of you on the call, are way smarter than me. What I have done, and I said it earlier on the call today, they said, well, you know, we weren't here, we're a new agent. We didn't know what it was like in 2008. How can we be the expert right now? I said, go find the people who were wildly successful in 2008 and go talk to them and go ask them tons of questions so that you can become the expert of the moment. And so it's the same thing. If we want to be massively successful in this business, let's find people who've already gone out and done it and then just do what they do. And when you look at what they do and you look at what, you know, there's several books that have been written about what super successful people do. And the number one is they get up early. They get up by 5 o'clock in the morning. Number 2, most of them have prepared for tomorrow, tonight. They know there are 3 big rocks that they have to get done. By getting them done, nothing else really matters. And they're super focused on making sure that that gets done. And so they're prepared. They are prepared. So I know that I kind of went on a rant because I so believe that it's not some silver bullet, or it's not something that someone's come up with, some secret sauce that no one knows about. It's just, sorry, I'm at home, it's my dog barking. But it's just it's being, you know, the little things cause you to be a disruptor. Right now, there are a lot of people who are just sitting at home taking a vacation and saying, hey, when everything turns around, I'll get back to work. Those people are not going to win. You know, I've been through 2 major economic downturns, and I've been through several personal adversities. And I can just tell you, the way that you win is you stay smack dab in the middle of it and you don't stop. And you might have to figure out a different message of the moment, but you do not stop, period.
I think you just transitioned perfectly. So what are some of those things that you're talking to your team about right now for this moment? What do you see as, you know, Gary talks about the market of the moment, right?
Yeah.
What do you see as some of those opportunities for people? What do you see as some of the conversations that people should be having right now?
All right, hang on. Tally, get in here. Sorry,
I've had
this is
to
real
do that
life,
for about
right?
2 weeks with my dog.
Barking
as
at the
well.
neighbors. So what are some of the messages of the moment, or the market of the moment? So, you know, we've all heard people talk about actually picking up the phone and calling people and coming from care and contribution, which is absolutely true. What we found, or what my team has found, is that everyone is answering the phone. Yeah. Everybody's answering the phone, which is awesome. The conversations are 15 or 20 minutes versus 5. And they're coming from, you know, it's funny when people, you know, you identify yourself at first you hear people kind of like a groan and saying, oh man, really, I don't want to talk about real estate. And we say, you know what, that's not why we're calling. We're calling just to see how you are. Can we do anything for you? How's your family? And that totally then disarms them, and you have that conversation. But funny thing, almost, I would say 90% of the time right now, while initially they say, we don't want to talk about real estate. We know that, we've talked about buying in the past, but right now we don't even want to talk about it. And then you say, that's not why I called. 15 minutes later, after you've talked about the family and the dog and gee, can you do anything for them? They're right back to, hey, can we talk about real estate? It's kind of fun how that works.
Yeah.
And then at the thing that they're doing two things. At the end of the call, they're asking them again, is there anything else that we can do for you or for anyone that you care about? And that's the same thing as saying what we used to say. Do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's saying the same thing, but it's saying, gosh, is there anything else we can do for you or anyone else that you care about? So that has been coming from that perspective. I can just tell you that, when I was on a script call this morning, practicing with my market center in Prescott, they asked me the question. They said, well, right now what do you say to people, sellers that don't want to take their house off the market? Or, I say to them then this, if somebody wants to see your house right now, let me ask you a question. Do you think that they're a looky-loo or do you think they're a real buyer? They're like, oh, well, they would be a real buyer. Who would be out looking at property right now if they weren't serious? I said, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So you're not going to have as many showings as you might have had if we weren't in the pandemic. But the people that want to see your house, either through a virtual personal experience tour or something else, these people are serious. They're serious about buying. And we've had those situations right now where the people had sold their home right before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic came, they found themselves, like, especially in the state of Washington and California, they couldn't close on their new home because the governor had rendered them not essential. That's changed and that's been fixed. But the point is that the people that are buying and selling right now, there are those people, there's just fewer of them. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like people that are looking at houses during Christmas time, right? They're looking because they're serious. So the good news is those people are serious. And if they want to buy, let them buy. So I think having that conversation with the seller when you say, and then other people say to me, okay, well, what do you say to the buyer who wants to wait because they think it's going to be like 2008? Every day you get up, the housing prices are going to be lower. I said, well, here's what I'd say to them. We didn't get here because of an economic disaster. Our economics are good. We got here because of a virus. So if you think about 2000, during 9/11 back in 2001, when after the shock and awe and a couple of months after that, after all of that was kind of over, the economy, the housing market, went crazy again because it wasn't caused by economics. Now, no one can tell you for sure what's going to happen. What I can say is it looks a whole lot more like 2001 than it does 2008. And if that's true, waiting may be a bad decision for you. To buy you might actually pay more because we all have a limited inventory. And then you kind of take the shutdown off of everybody. And I think you're going to find it's going to look more like 2001 versus 2011.
Another thing I tell people too is it's a lot easier for buyers to get back into the market than it is for sellers. Sellers need to prepare their homes. Sellers need photography done. So like one of the things that's very hard for us in Connecticut is getting photography done of listings because photographers are not essential, right?
Right.
So we're getting photography on cell phones, that the agents are taking and things like that. So there's a lot of things. So it's going to take longer for inventory to come back than it will be for buyers to get back in the market.
That's exactly right.
So
spot on.
If you're a buyer, which would you rather have? Less competition or more, right?
Exactly. So that's just another reason, because I think, if you think about it automatically, I think a lot of buyers are thinking, oh, goody, this is going to be like 2008. It's not the same. It's not the same economics as 2008.
Yeah.
2008 happened because of bad economics.
Mm-hmm. Buyers can still get loans. It's not like a limited buyer pool right now because of the financial markets, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. The other thing that I think that you mentioned, as far as building out your business, was your lead gen levers. And
Mhm.
I think this situation that we're in right now just speaks to what you were talking about, which was focus on lead gen levers that you can control.
That's right.
So can you talk a little bit about some of your lead gen levers and some of the ones that you're pulling hard on right now?
So it's interesting because I think every day you get up and you really assess what's going on and you pivot. And right now it seems like one day it feels like a week, doesn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So what I was talking about at family reunion was, there are lead gen levers that you can control, meaning, tomorrow if Facebook changes their algorithm or Zillow changes, their programs, and who's controlling that?
Mm-hmm.
Who's controlling your business if all of your business is tied up in Facebook ads or all of your business is tied up in Zillow leads?
Yep.
They are. But tomorrow, if you have an open house and you do a really high level open house, or you're lead genning into your database, who controls that?
You do.
We do. And so, I don't ever want to be caught in a position where someone else can pivot and change everything and have a dramatic effect on my business. I want to be able to control my business. So we have built our business between 68 and 72% of our business every year in and year out, comes from Sphere, past clients, and referrals. So we are super database. We are focused on our database. So we have written playbooks around our 5 lead gen levers that we control. And one of them is open houses, of course. And one of them is around events. So we are super purposeful about our events. For instance, tomorrow is Good Friday. Tomorrow, typically, we would be giving out, and let me tell you what a little pivot looks like. Tomorrow, we would typically be having everyone come to the office and pick up their Easter lily, and we would have goodies for kids, Easter egg coloring kits, and that's what we would typically be doing. Because we're very highly engaged with our database and we're very event focused, and we run them at a very high level. Our last event, which would have been,
And you do those at all of your locations and all of your teams?
Yes, every location.
Incredible.
So for instance, in Alaska, when we did the event for Thanksgiving, we got 66 legitimate referrals from that one event. So that's a massive return. So tomorrow, typically people would be coming in to pick up their Easter lilies just like they would be coming in to pick up their pies. But we realized that in our environment, how could we pivot and not only make it a win for them, our clients, but make it a win for our community. So right now, as we all know, restaurants are struggling. Mm-hmm. So an interview, this is a couple of weeks ago when you could go in person. Now I'm doing them via Zoom, but I went and interviewed 3 restaurants, and they came up with 5 ingredients that anyone has in their pantry, and showed people via Zoom, how you could, when we did it live on Facebook, how you could put together a super simple meal just from stuff out of your closet, or out of your pantry. And they did it to help people who are at home with kids and they're cooking several meals a day that they, aren't typically doing. And then I asked them, what could we do for you? And they said it would help us so much if people would buy gift cards now that they could use later, or that if they would come and order something through the drive-through. And so what we did is we took all the money that we were going to spend on our Easter lily campaign, and instead we bought gift cards. And so tomorrow we are delivering in a bag the gift card to a local restaurant, and we're delivering the Easter egg coloring kits for kids. If you don't have kids, then we're giving you antibacterial soap from Bed Bath & Beyond, and we're actually delivering it. So it's just a minor pivot. It massively helps our restaurants. So we ended up buying $3,000 worth of gift cards, and we bought them in this increment. We bought them in $25 increment. And here's why we did that. When you go to the restaurant, do you usually spend more than $25?
Absolutely.
So it's a double win for them. They get the money now, and when they come in later to use it, they're going to get more money. Yeah. So we're helping the community, we're helping small business, and at the same time, instead of giving a plant, which is nice and awesome, we're giving them a gift card that they can use right now when they're stuck at home. And you know, most of us are trying to figure out, what are we going to eat tonight?
Yeah.
That's what I mean by a small pivot. And of course, we didn't have the pandemic. It hadn't started yet at family reunions. So I didn't talk about that, but that's what I mean by getting up every day and saying, okay, this is us controlling our business. However, given the pandemic, how should we pivot just a tiny bit such that it has a greater impact? And so that's just an example of one thing that we have done here recently, to just pivot a little bit, but make a massive contribution to our community.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. We have a couple more minutes left. I promised you a half-hour call. So I do want to, we have a couple more minutes left, and I want to just kind of open it up. If anybody has any questions that they want to talk to Kristan about, you can put them in the chat box if you don't want to speak up, or if you don't have video turned on or whatever, or you can just unmute yourself and ask a question that way as well.
While you guys are chatting your questions, I will say this. I did hear on the news this morning that the PPP program, which partnerships, LLCs, and corporations got to apply for last Friday, 30% of the money is already gone. Tomorrow, you can apply as an independent contractor or sole proprietor. Be prepared, get your stuff together today, and be there tomorrow morning, because the money's limited. Like I said, 30% of the money is already gone. So don't delay and don't wait. Yes, you have until June 30th, but I don't think there's going to be any money on June 30th. So don't wait. And my second piece of advice is, do not do your own taxes this year. I went through all the extra tax breaks that they're, tax credits, several different tax credits that they're going to give this year, and also additional write-offs. And you're not going to know all of those. And so this year, more than ever, use a professional to prepare your taxes so that you can save some money and take advantage of those credits.
Awesome advice. Thank you for that. A little extra tidbit there. All right. Last chance, everybody.
I have a question, Dan.
Sure. All right, Chris.
Kristan, thank you for your time, first and foremost. So you said you did 350 transactions with yourself and one buyer's agent and 3 admins. What were you? Okay, so that's obviously extraordinary. And to go,
I'm laughing over here. Yeah, because it's
I went on about 500 listing appointments that year.
okay. Before that, what were you doing on your own?
So before I had a team, the most I ever did in 1 year was 58 transactions when I was a solo agent.
Okay, so then my question is, to go from 58 transactions to 350, and then 350 to 1,400, what kind of person do you need to become to go through from one to one and the other to the other?
It's a great question, Chris. And I think more than anything, you need to work on yourself. For me, I had to become the leader that was worthy of someone following. And that didn't happen overnight, because I knew how to sell real estate, and I'd gotten really good at that because I focused on it. I think we have to get focused on who we are and becoming a leader that's worth following. You know, right now through this pandemic, you know, I have a title company, you know, that I'm the majority owner in. You know, I have 2 market centers that I'm the OP and majority owner in, and then I'm an investor in 2 other market centers. Plus I have KCN. So I am making daily decisions right now and balancing, you know, what do I do here? And it may not be the right time yet to do it over here. And I'm balancing those decisions every day. And I guarantee you, had I not worked harder on myself than anyone else, this could prove to be a very, well, it's a challenging time anyway. But for me, I really believe that we are, while it requires, like I crashed, you know, last night about 5 o'clock, I hit the wall because it takes so much it takes so much energy out of you, because there's so much emotion charged in all of this, and there's so much at stake. And so what I would say is that everything that I've gone through and been through up until this point, while at the time some of them really were not fun, if you embrace adversity, whether it's personal adversity or business adversity, and you walk all the way through it, there will always be opportunity that comes from it. And everything that I've done up until this point has prepared me for such a time as this. So I would say that it's kind of strange, you know, I would never ever ask for this kind of adversity, but I can tell you that I feel very confident right now walking through it with all of the people that are depending on me. Because when you take outside of just my own personal KCN expansion business and hub here in Alaska, you know, with my other market centers combined, you're talking about 1,000 people who are depending on me to make good decisions on a daily basis that impact all of them. And so so the answer is you work harder on yourself than you do anyone else, and you earn the right to become that leader that's worthy of them following.
I love that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristan.
We had a couple of questions in the chat box. How are you?
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Absolutely, of course.
Because how do you do that? You do that by going and following other leaders who've already gone before you and have already proven themselves, and you find out what they do and how they do it, and you just follow them. I didn't get creative. I followed some really good leaders who have had a major impact on my personal growth.
Would you mind sharing some of who those people are? I'm assuming
One of them's John Maxwell. He personally mentors me. He's mentored me now for 3 years. You know, and through him, I have met other people that also have had a big impact on my life. And it's not just in the field of real estate. It's in other areas of my life. You know, obviously Gary Keller has had a huge impact on me. But in addition to that, you know, when you like Jeff Galloway has had a huge impact on me. Most of you wouldn't know who he is, but he was a marathon runner in the 1970s Olympics. And he has been a mentor and role model for me in terms of teaching me how to run better, faster, more efficient. And so it's not just in one area, but it's and then I would say in terms of my spiritual life, it would be Ashley Woolridge in Phoenix, Arizona with CCV Church, you know, because they all have had impacts on me in different ways. But just go find your mentors and make sure that the ones that you follow are proven, is people who've been through what you're going through or gonna go through, and they've come out the other side with respect and with honor. Go find those people, learn what they did, and just follow them.
That's awesome. Thank you. That was great. How are you keeping your team motivated day by day right now?
So we have daily we have a daily call with my leadership team every single morning. I have it with my team leaders at 6:30, and I have it with my leadership team at 7:30. So we're doing those every single day. And what I found is before the pandemic, once a week was enough, but it's not enough right now because things are moving so fast. So even though the meetings are shorter, they're 15 and maximum of 30 minutes, but because the world is changing so fast right now and the information is coming at us from so many different things, and we've got to be experts at the PPP program, the EIDL program, you know, all these things that will impact our agents, that I've got to make sure that we understand it and are pivoting. We're making a major pivot in Phoenix, Arizona tomorrow. You'll probably hear about it probably in Inman, but it's a major pivot. And we've been preparing for it. And honestly, there's not a better time to announce it than during this pandemic to really, really help our people.
Awesome.
So that's one thing, is communication, overly communicating. I told people I'm going to communicate with them until they cry uncle, because I know that I can't communicate with them enough right now. And if I am, then tell me so. And nobody has cried uncle yet.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Kristan, one last thing. What are you seeing out there? What could you in your business or your people need? What do you need for help? What are some of the things that we could do to help you in what you're trying to accomplish right now?
Wow, that's really kind of you to even ask. You know, honestly, the best thing we can do for one another is to refer to one another, to refer to the people on this call with our business, because you know you know, our team in Alaska just referred a buyer that closed up here and got caught kind of in that squishy middle with because they were buying a $1.1 million house in Arizona. And it was because of the people and the quality of people around that transaction that actually ended up closing. But I would just say, you know, being able to refer to good people that you know are going to take such great care. I think that's the number one thing is consider us maybe the next time that you're going to refer to a location. If we're in that location, we would appreciate you considering us. That would help. I'm just, right now, we're trying to do everything we can to bring hope and help to not only our community, not only our clients, but our agents as well. And so, you know, one of the program that we're announcing tomorrow, I think does that. And here's what I know is that during something like this, you can't be overly generous. You can't outgive, you know, the pandemic. It's a gift that will return over and over and over. And so right now, I know that it feels like we should be very, very moving inward and very protectionist. And I think you should in terms of your expensive. But I think in terms of your generosity, with your time, with your knowledge to help people. You know, I was helping another group this morning with their lease. I mean, just being overly generous with what your whatever your gift is. Mine tends to be numbers and finances and just knowledge around working through all of that. Maybe your gift, there's a gal on our team that she's super good seamstress. So she's making us all masks, but she's making them with cool fabric, you know, that matches our, you know, she's making really cool ones. So what's your super secret sauce that you could give to your community and your friends and your family right now that would make a difference? That's what I would say is if you guys go out and do that, because, you know, for me, my big why is to lead and influence other leaders who want to lead and influence other leaders such that they achieve something no one else has ever done. And what that means is, and I repeat myself during that statement, because it has when you lead a group of leaders like this to then go lead their group of leaders, that has a multiplicative effect, not just addition. And so what you could do for me is go out and take anything that you might have learned from me today that has any value whatsoever and go help your people, go help your clients, go help your family, because that's what drives me every day.
I love it. Well, Kristan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
My
you're
pleasure.
an incredible leader, incredible woman, and it's been awesome to talk to you for this time. All right.
Well, it's truly, truly my pleasure. And anytime I can be of help to any of you, you can reach out to me. I tend to answer texts more than anything else or faster. And my cell phone number is 512-944-9940.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much, Kristan.
You bet. You guys have a great Good Friday and happy Easter weekend.
Thank you. You as well. Have a great
You
weekend.
bet.
Bye.